I had a few thoughts I wanted to share with you on the current situation section when planning, specifically the current situation section when you're writing a proposal. So there was 3 points that the book talked about that I thought were really important and we needed to kind of emphasize. And those three concepts are that problems are the effects of causes, ignored problems tend to get worse, and you want to blame change, not people. So these are three really important concepts to remember when you're putting together and thinking about your current situation section. So the first one, problems are the effects of causes. This seems like kind of a obvious point, but it's kind of this part will actually this concept will probably take a lot more thought than what you think it will. You have to not just talk about what the problem is when you're in your current situation section, but you have to explain why the problem has occurred. So, what are the causes of this problem that has caused it to occur? Um, so, for example, if you think about, like, I know one problem that I've read about, students talk about how there needs to be a workout facility in the North student neighborhood. There's a nice big recplex in the south, um, but there's really no place for students who live north of campus to go. It's not as convenient. So, what are the causes of that problem? Why has that happened? Well, probably the first thing is money, right? There's just not that much money to throw around to build another massive recplex. But what else? Maybe the fact that we don't have a lot of land. There's no place to put it over there like there was in the South Student neighborhood. Maybe we don't own as much land over there. Um, there has been increased enrollment, so more students live over there now than maybe 10 years ago when they built the recplex. So there's a lot of causes that could have caused this problem to occur. So when talking about a solution, then you need to make sure that you address those causes, or else your reader is just going to say, well, the reason we don't have this to begin with is XYZ, and you're not talking about that. So that's the first concept. The second concept is that ignored problems tend to get worse. So usually, if you have a problem and it's a pretty big problem, it's a problem enough that you're going to write about it, they're not going to just get better. If it gets better, then what's the purpose of writing a proposal to fix it, right? You just wait and it'll get better. But most problems are not like that. You do end up with some sort of problem, a worsening problem or other problems that stem from the first problem. So again, thinking about the recplex or the north recplex, what are some of the things that could happen if that problem is not addressed? Well, one thing is obviously the people in the north maybe won't work out as much because it's not as convenient. They won't go work out, so they're going to have lower fitness levels than the people down closer to campus. Another one maybe is that the school won't look as attractive to potential students. Um, they think that, oh, well, this would be great if I live down here, but if I live up there, then, it's not going to be all that great. Maybe underclassmen will be more reluctant to live in the north, and you'll have too many people wanting to live down on the south side of campus and not enough people wanting to live up on the north side. Then you'll have a lot of people unhappy for housing. That's probably already happening, really. So, those are some problems that could stem from this core problem. So those would be things to address with a current situation section and say, hey, look, this is a problem, but these things will be even worse going forward. The third concept, and this is probably one of the most important points, is to blame change, not people. And it should be number 3. I don't know why they're all number 1. Blame change, not people. And I have the little happy people down there because you want to make people happy. You don't want to make them angry. And especially considering the person that you might be addressing the proposal to could be the person who actually is at fault or who you could try to, blame for the problem. That's not going to go over well with your audience. So rather than trying to pin blame on people, it's always safer to try to address the underlying changes that has caused the problem or the opportunity. So rather than saying something like, well, rec sports and campus residential life just won't give us a new recplex. Say, okay, well, our increasing enrollment and the expansion of people to the north neighborhood, that's what's caused the situation. So chances are at some point, rec sports and student housing and student development are going to read they're going to read that proposal. So if you're, placing blame all over the place on those people and those people end up reading your proposal, they're probably going to be less likely to approve your solution that you're trying to propose. So sticking with change, happenings, events, circumstances rather than people is really important for a proposal, because a lot of times the first time we think about something, we think about a problem, it's really easy to identify, like, oh, this is this person's problem. But in the larger scheme of things, it probably isn't solely that person's problem or that person's fault. It is, the problem of circumstances. So sometimes you have to dig a little bit to get at those circumstances to see what has changed that has caused the problem. But it's definitely worth it because it's going to benefit you a lot going forward. So going with that idea is that a proposal is not a rant. You don't want to just sit there and complain about X, Y, and Z, and this stinks, and it's not fair, and it makes life really hard for us. Even if you write it nicely and it's very well written, it's very well put together, don't rant. That's the difference. Those three concepts are what will make your proposal a constructive document versus just a complaint. And complaining is one thing. It's usually where you start from, right? This is a real pain in the butt. So what are we going to do about it? Where are we going to go from this, and how are we going to fix it? So trying to, get at those three concepts will really help you out. That being said, your current situation section might be kind of negative because you are talking usually about a problem and something that has caused a problem. So fundamentally speaking, it might sound kind of negative. That's okay, because eventually in your plan section then going forward, you will turn to something positive and you'll say, okay, we have this situation, we can fix it. This is how we're going to fix it. But establishing that situation is really important, and it might be a negative situation. But remembering not to blame people and looking at the causes, you're going to make it constructive and useful. So remember those concepts when you're starting to think about your current situation, and when you're writing a proposal, it will help you out a lot in really writing something strong and establishing that fundamental part of your proposal that is sort of the basis for the whole rest of the document. Thank you.